All right, here we are again. Crazy John Carrots and Ben Zion. I think I have you too. You might be a little too high there. I'm not sure, but we just talked a few weeks ago, but I figured it's good for an update. A lot of things have happened. I know with me, I got a lot of things finished. I'll just go over quickly what I finished before we get Ben talking, because we know he likes to talk once he gets going, which is good. Finished my newest album, my newest single. I'm a Traveler, Crazy John, and the Joey Wells band. He was a second guitar, keyboardist. I'm sorry, for Bill Haley and the Comets. So that's out. I finished my new kids book, which is Jay's Friends, which goes along with my Dr. Jonks books, which actually right now I'm working on making that into a adult book instead of a youth book. And I did finish my book on Morals and Machines, Theology and AI Technology. And that's out. Those are out on Amazon if you want to read them. The AI technology, theology and AI technology comes more from a theology standpoint than a technology standpoint. So I will warn you ahead of time if you are hoping it's going to be a tech book. It's really not. It's about kind of science and theology and sociology and that kind of thing more than straight science. So it's just how it relates to demands and our beliefs. So that's enough of my soapbox there. So let's get to you, Ben. What have you been up to? How has things been the last couple of weeks since we talked? What's new?
Well, I'm excited by all of this. You know, I love your music, and I love your work, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Well, yeah, yeah, that too.
The only way you could love it is if I pay you. But I have to admit, anytime you create something, it usually doesn't work out to be exactly your vision. But you know, it's a team. When I do it with Joey Wells, and it's a team thing. Him and Canadian American Records, and but that's how a lot of things work out in life. And I don't think we should be worried about that. We just want to make sure that what gets out there at least has the essence of what you want. And I think that's everything, along with politics and what you try to do. And what you're trying to do is, I mean, I'm sure not everything's going to work out exactly how you originally envisioned it, but I think you hope to make something that is a good product and that maybe even helps people and helps the world. So, or inspires them. So go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm sorry. No, that's, you know, we run into that frustration as a society a lot lately. You know, folks are upset, and rightly so. I've run into these frustrations from some of these same concerns recently. You know, this particularly the COVID-19 outbreak has slowed some operations down, and you know that is bleeding out into other things. You know, we really do need to fix some of these systemic concerns, and that is part of the reason why I talk so much about my futurist New Deal for America. I'm a presidential candidate. And I have a platform called the Futurist New Deal for America, and it describes a basic income, the middle class freedom dividend that pays everyone $1,000 a week. Every adult gets $1,000 a week, and that's funded through the leasing of federal lands. And that's something that if we had something like this before, if we'd had a fully realized public health service like my Medicare for all for us, Medicare for All Plus program, you know, we might not be looking at so many angry people in the streets. We really wouldn't.
It's always an interesting thing because people usually start saying socialism right away. But it is funny to me that during this time of the COVID-19, I don't hear people saying that as much with them getting their $1,200 and possibly another $1,200. And some of the people I know that have been on unemployment have actually been doing better on unemployment with the extra $600 than they were working. I ran into a couple people that told me they didn't want to go back to work, that they were happy, they were making more now. So it's interesting to me how, you know, a lot of times when you propose what you're talking about, people say, "Oh, socialism," and how bad.
But you have to look at this. You have to look at some of that with a longer lens of history, John. When people go on to that unemployment. They're not just sitting around playing video games. That's some people, sure, But a lot
Right.
of people, they're doing the thing they always wanted to do. They're starting a small business. They're taking care of their loved ones. They're living better lives. And
Right. There's other
that's,
things that you're during this whole thing. There's other things that we're busy doing because we have to be, and but still, though, it's interesting how people. Right. It's interesting how people change their tune and realize the worth of it when they need it. So that's just a point I'm making there that people might say right away what you're saying is socialism, but it's actually taking care of each other and taking care of our people like we should be taking care of our people.
yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of people who write about basic income, political philosophers and political scientists and so forth, who are hesitant, even though they're advocates for the program. They say we need to try it for a number of years, and if it doesn't produce the results that we want, then some of those people are willing to walk that back. But the main thing that we have to do as a society is not see that people are living with the wolf at the door all the time. Because this situation that we're in 2020, it's been a hellacious year. And the reason for that is because we don't have a functioning public health system in the United States. And we don't have a safety net system in the United States. So when things fracture a little bit, when there's a pandemic and there's an economic shutdown, we can't survive in the way that a country like Germany or Switzerland or so many other countries. They're ready to go back to normal, but we're not in a position to do that because we haven't created these institutions. These countries are living in the 21st century, and so they're able to face mid-21st century problems. We still have the institutions of a 20th century country, a mid-20th century or early 20th century country. And so we're not adjusting in the way that we should. And that is why we need something like the Futurist New Deal for America, which may soon be, I'm pleased to announce, also known as the Reform New Deal for America, because I've been invited to attend the Reform Party convention as a potential candidate. And I'm very hopeful that they will accept this platform and this message. So I'm looking forward to that, not only as a candidate, not only as a political scientist, but also, as you know, John, you and I are active in the techno-futurist community. We alluded to that. And I want to cultivate close dealings between that Reform Party and our techno-futurist community, particularly, of course, the United States Transhumanist Party, of which we are both ranking officers.
So when will that be happening with you with the Reform Party? Is that this month?
Yep, that's June 13th, just 7 days from now. And it's going to be a good show. I'll get some links for people to check that out, and some people can even attend that. It's going to be virtual, as you know. A lot of these events are live events are now canceled, so this was planned to be taking place at the Ramada Inn in Long Island, New York, very close to New York City. But now it's been rescheduled as a virtual event, but it promises to be an exciting event, nevertheless. And I would certainly encourage people to check out that video and participate in that event.
Yes, if you could send a link and maybe put it at the bottom underneath this video eventually when this interview is over and out.
Absolutely.
That'd be great, so people can catch that.
Yeah. So you and I talked last time we spoke, I believe, about a little bit about Argentina, working on.
How is that coming along?
Well, it is. I mentioned that you mentioned and I mentioned we both have experienced some ups and downs, and I won't say that one's a down, but I've actually I was a general director of this project for a declaration for the city of Buenos Aires to make a life extension declaration, an important goal of the techno-futurist project, and particularly the longevity community. And so they've entertained our proposal, and it's still being advanced. But I've actually handed off, as of today, this general directorship to our friend Daniel Yelishvili, another important member and advisor to the United States Transhumanist Party. And that's partly to do with the fact that he has closer ties to Latin America than I do. It's also partly to do with the fact that I'm spread a little thin. I have a lot I'm working on, and that's just life sometimes. So
it's not going to interfere with you going down, though. We still have to do it, right?
Yeah, we'll go down. Yeah, yeah. I'll still be a key advisor to the project, but I'm just handing off this general directorship to our close associate. Let's see, other recent news. Begun working on a specialized land reclamation project in Arvin, California, about 15 miles outside of Bakersfield. Folks who are familiar might know there's an awful lot of oil drilling rigs in that area. You know, anytime you drive through California, you see some of those. Anytime you're driving through the Great American West, you'll be probably seeing some of those. And they have these particular ones in this part of Bakersfield, California, have been defunct for between 3 and 10 years. The companies have gone out of business, and because they've gone out of business, they haven't done their due diligence with the reclamation. They're supposed to clean up when they're finished with this. You know, a lot of oil is seeped into the ground. It's contaminated the groundwater. The companies no longer exist, and no one is really taking care of this. But transhumanists to the rescue. My biolab company, Quixotic Life Sciences, we have a team of microbiologists who have come up with a plan to help neutralize this filth that is a blight upon the land, to neutralize this oil in the soil, and using a PETase microbe technology. I won't bore you with the details. But this is something that they might give us the keys to the city of Bakersfield if our proposal is advanced. Certainly would be well received in California, a state that has a good history of taking care of its environment relative to other states. And leadership of that state, my former home, they do try their very best to see that these environmental concerns are addressed. And I feel quite hopeful that our proposal will be advanced and accepted. Also, always as ever under the aegis of the Techno-Futurist Project and the United States Transhumanist Party, I want to assure our friends that even though I'm working more closely with another party, the Reform Party, I always live for you. I always love you. I will always be a transhumanist until that fateful day when we say, I am now a transhuman. I've upgraded. Until that fateful day, I will always count myself among your ranks, no matter what organization or what project I happen to be working on.
Now, speaking about projects and stuff working on, now me and you both had contacted the Guinness Book of Records, myself for being the first cyborg in space, and you also for doing some other projects yourself. How is that going? I know mine's kind of in limbo, but I think there's something happening with yours, though, isn't there?
Yes, that's true. So this was a project that was scheduled for earlier in the year. And, you know, everybody's scratching their heads right now because a lot of the world went sideways, right? And the Guinness organization is no different. There were some delays with what's happening internally in that organization. You've run into that yourself. They changed the protocols for submitting these Guinness records, just in recent weeks, a few times. And but I'm pleased to say that we have still been able to manage with their stipulations. And so this project has advanced. I'm going to be recording this video and doing this Guinness record for the longest period of virtual reality immersion, a continuous virtual reality usage, which is currently set at 42 hours and 42 seconds. But we're going to beat it, blow it out of the water. And I'm looking forward to that. So that's coming up soon. And I'm going to be doing a lot more promotion and discussion of that exciting event. I'm looking forward to it. I've been training, John. Just when we were preparing for this,
we should play the Rocky music right now for you.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun. Maybe Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah. No, I've been training.
Virtual Eye of the Tiger.
I spend between 2 to 3 hours in virtual reality as a part of my ordinary work every day. So I virtualized some of my work habits. And so this has become this is something that I've been doing since January of this year when we began to plan this. And I'm pretty pleased with it. You know, we're in a time when a lot of people are telecommuting. You know this, John. You have had this experience.
Yeah, I do this myself with multiple calls, Skype, Zoom, the Microsoft one. It's I think that's one of the most frustrating things I think to business right now is instead of just being able to go over and talk to someone, it becomes a Skype or a Zoom meeting.
Yeah,
and then you
yeah. I
include
didn't
more
even know what
people,
Zoom
and it
was a year ago.
becomes more than it used to be. You know, you can just yell
Yeah.
over the wall at somebody, but you can't anymore. So it's a very interesting day and age. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And just as I've been using Zoom an awful lot more and Skype quite a bit more than I used to, I've been using this virtual reality technology in my work as well. And I'm pleased. I'm pleased with that. And I would encourage people if you want to improve your productivity, if you want to have the different kind of experience as well, because that is mostly what people use this for, video games and things. But the device that I have is a Windows mixed reality device. It's integrated with Windows, and so I can use it for a lot of work as well. And that's what I've chosen to do. And I'm pleased with this experience, and I think that you'll find that it will improve your productivity and certainly give you some jollies, if not becoming fully integrated into your work life. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm a little scared too, John. It's a scary thing to stay awake for 42 hours inside of a mask.
I'll be honest with you. I did a motorcycle sit-a-thon one time. Back in the 80s, and they actually thought it would go one day. It ended up going from Thursday all the way through to Sunday. I took second place, and of course, it was me dropping out that got the other person to be the winner. But I started getting delusional actually after all that time. Being on a motorcycle, and you were allowed breaks to go to the bathroom, and that was it. You know, so you could basically get a snack when you went to the bathroom. When you get back on the bike, your hands had to be on the handlebars, your feet had to think. Actually, I think the motorcycle place lost some money over it because they had to have staff there for all that time, and they didn't expect it to last that long. But second place, I won some things, but it was interesting. But it can do some interesting things to your mind. Let me just tell you that. So
yeah, and you know, you have a history of doing a lot of extreme sports and experiences, and myself not so much. I've done some of these things, but they don't call me Mad Ben.
They don't call you Mad Ben or like I'm Crazy John.
Well,
right?
they call me crazy, but not in a good way.
But I mean, I mean, I don't know. Come on, just pretend it's one of your old. Show me a picture of him in school.
Just talking out of.
We don't need to see you bent over a sofa with a beer bottle, drunk. You know, time went on. But okay, so when you're going to make this happen? Is this going to be something that other people can actually get into and I mean communicate with you during it or not? You're crying now.
Crying.
You don't need to cry over this. It'll be okay.
Yeah,
you're going through it just fine.
Okay, so yeah, speaking of virtual reality, yes, a lot of our friends in the transhumanist community are interested in virtual reality. A lot of people spending time in virtual environments and social VR. And so I will be available in social VR. And there's a couple of places where I'll be, and I'll update you on all of those, of course. But I will be available, so people can come pop in. You don't even have to have a fancy mixed reality or virtual reality headset of that kind. You can just do it from your desktop, or in some cases from you have a VR device, but it's the kind that you pop your phone into, or you have a couple.
I have both kinds. I have the full. I forget the brand. What is that big brand that's out there? What's the name of that one? Huh? Yes.
Yeah, Oculus Rift.
I have one of those, and then I do also have the ones you pop your phone into.
Yeah,
So I haven't used, I haven't
I
played with
also
that
have
much lately,
both.
to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I also have both. I use them both, but I do use the fancier one quite a lot more. But yeah, so you'll be able to jump in either of those. The one, some of the worlds are more limited in that a person who doesn't have a desktop access, but we'll be spending time in both. So yeah, 42 hours, pretty long time. So we'll have time to visit with a lot of folks. I am mostly going to be working on an art project in one of these worlds. We're going to be doing a sort of a little bit similar to a Google Tilt Brush. One of the other record holders, not the recent record holder, but the one before, had spent 36 hours painting in a 3D painting application, Google Tilt Brush. And that's part of what I'm going to be doing, although my time is going to be divided between different activities in that social painting environment.
Maybe you could repaint that picture you showed me before of you in college just a few moments ago. And maybe that could be part of your art project, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah. Hey, we got to give them some. Got to give the people something to listen. Yeah. So so that's I'm looking forward to that, and that's about 2 weeks out. That's about 2 weeks out. So I'm going to be promoting that over the next 2 weeks. It's going to be a busy 2 weeks.
I'm glad that finally is getting to a point of happening. I guess my whole thing with becoming the first cyborg in space through Guinness, I probably should give up on that soon. But I haven't figured out how else to get that name. I don't know if anybody else out there has any ideas. Since my 11 fake parts, my eyes, my leg, and other parts, and hip and stuff that I could get. I thought that'd be cool to get known as the first cyborg in space, since I went to space back in 2014. But
having had some recent dealings with the Guinness organization, I would say that maybe you might try emailing them, because they're not hitting their quotas right now. Most of their records are not being fulfilled because everyone's practicing social distancing, and now here in the U.S., it's not been a big problem in Dublin, but there's civil unrest, and between the social distancing and the economic downturn and the civil unrest,
that's true. I'll reach out to them personally, maybe.
Yeah, it might not hurt. Really might not hurt.
What now? Once you get by this VR, or your VR title, what would you like to? What are you looking for next? I know at one time you had been talking about working on. I think we'd talked about working on some snails and working on some canaries to help with some what do you call that? Non-indigenous animals in areas that were destroying the indigenous animals.
Yeah, it's a little similar. For your audience, I'll explain. It's not dissimilar to the reclamation project that I described before, but it's dealing a little more with fauna rather than flora, animals rather than plants.
Right. And so, is that still possibly in the future then?
Yes, we are still looking at a parakeet project. We had originally written a proposal for a project with parakeets, which are an invasive species in the city of London, and they spend a lot of money removing these species. And we had come up with a gene drive proposal that would help use advanced technology to eliminate this invasive species by making it difficult for them to breed using genetic engineering. Exciting stuff. But that project in London has come to a little bit of a standstill. However, our friends in rural Israel also have this problem, and it not being an urban environs, but a rural environs that is more affected. This is easier to implement. So we still have a potential client in our friends in Israel outside of the city of Haifa and in the surrounding countryside. They also have this ring-necked parakeet as a pest, an invasive species, and we're going to kill the bastards. I know we won't kill them. The idea is we won't kill them. We'll render them infertile. We'll render them infertile. Yeah, nobody
Give
kills.
me
Nobody gets killed.
giving me a lot of potential edits here, there, Ben,
Hey, you
this
don't have
week,
to edit
but
that. You don't have to edit
all right, I'll leave that in.
that.
But the picture of you in college, I will edit that one out.
Yeah, please do edit that one. Yeah, no, but the the
But it was entertaining.
I didn't mean to make light of this region. We're not going to kill any bastards. We're only going to do a very sensible program for the management of this invasive species. Yes. Of all the places in the world to have troubles right now, the Middle East is probably suffering the least.
That
Maybe
probably is true for compared to some of the stuff with the civil unrest from other issues, and I think some of the civil unrest I think is just not that it isn't called for. It's just it became worse because of everybody already being in a state of volatility from being not able to do a lot of things.
This is why the Futurist deal and the Transhumanist Party, we work on these things. We've been anticipating these problems for many years. It's why we have the federal land dividend of Zoltan Nisfin, an independent candidate for president. It's why we have middle class freedom dividend from Ben Zion, a Transhumanist Party and a Reform Party candidate. Because we've been thinking about this. We see this coming. The future belongs to those who see it coming. And this is what the United States Transhumanist Party is particularly good at relative to other folks. So we didn't know that there was going to be a coronavirus, but we did know that problems like this would eventually come to us. And we did know that the United States government was not really doing the best of jobs in addressing some of these concerns. And so we came up with policy initiatives to try and see that those things are fixed. So that's why I would encourage you to go to benzion2020.com, learn more about the Futurist New Deal for America. And of course, go to transhumanist-party.org/membership. Sign up today. Membership is free to anyone anywhere in the world. We are an international party, and you can join us and participate in what we're doing. We're always working on projects, and I'm always interested to hear from people who have ideas for new projects as well, particularly as they relate to public policy or the life sciences, but also, I'm active in these digital arenas as well.
Well, I think we'll cut this at a half hour this time, Ben. I think we've probably said more than enough and showed people more than enough. But
yeah, sorry for the personal photo there.
Yeah, that's okay. It was your college life, and that's you have to hold to it.
It's a simpler time.
Yeah, this weekend I guess I have my the book I did on morals and machines, theology and AI technology is actually part of my retirement for my PhD through the Interfaith Seminary, which is actually above Phoenix, where you're out of. And nice. That actually my official graduating day will be this Saturday. Me with my PhD and my sister with her bachelor's. So we're just going to have a little in-house party for that, since you really can't do much today, Yeah. So we're trying not to have anything go on like your college picture.
Yeah. Well, I like this. I like what you're doing, bringing ideas around advanced algorithms and artificial intelligence to people in other communities and discussing the implications. This is important work. So I would encourage people to check out that book. And I'm looking, you sent me an advanced chapter I really enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to reading the whole thing.
Well, thank you. And I will be in touch tomorrow. We have another meeting to ourselves, and we'll do this again in a couple more weeks. We will do this after you do the Reform Party. So we can talk about that and how that went and what directions you think you're going from there. Make sure it doesn't fall into like your picture from college. No.
Yeah. Don't take any wooden nickels, folks. Stay out of trouble. Wear your mask. Try not to end up in the clink.
There you go. But so we will talk again then next after your Reform Party. That'll be interesting to see how that went. I'll try and get into that myself to participate if I can. But I want to hear, the how it went from your end after the fact. How's that sound?
Perfect. I'll look forward to it, and I'll see that you're invited to the convention event as well.
Well, thank you very much and look forward to speaking with you again. I know we'll speak soon and informing us of how many things you're up to. Well, maybe not everything you're up to, but
Yep.
the good things.
And I'll see you in approximately 25 hours at the officers meeting.
Yes, I will. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
All right. Thanks, John. Pleasure as always.